In this video, we're going to build an auto-completion extension in VS Code under 10 minutes, which does auto-completion for your SQL files and including amazing emojis. So let's start the timer. So we can start with the hello world example of building an extension and copy this npm command, which generates the code which you can use to start building an extension. So I'll let that play through, and we can copy the next command in the meantime, which will generate the basic setup like what your extension name should be and all that. Alright, so let's just execute your code and TypeScript. Name of the extension would be complete me. Identifier for extension, let's leave it default. Initialize grid repository, yes. Unbundled npm. And this will install all the packages that's required to have a basic extension. So open with code, no, we're going to do it in Neovim. So we're going to go to the complete me directory and open the file, and so the main file where the extension code lives is extension.js. So we'll remove all these comments so that we have a clean slate to work with, and we'll add our completion code inside the subscriptions context subscriptions.push. So here we have to use Vscode .languages register completion provider register completion provider. This takes, I think, 3 arguments. If we check the documentation, it takes 3 arguments. The selector provider. Selector in our case is the SQL and file schema, so we can check that quickly by just copy pasting the VS Code document selector into Safari and trying to see what that is. So it's the schema, file, and file language type, right? So we can just copy paste that across here and paste that as our first argument and change this to SQL. We're going to test our extension in SQL. And the second argument is the completion provider. So for that, we're gonna add our second argument in here, and then it should give us some kind of auto completion of what that is. So it is the provider completion items. We're going to choose this one. So it has documents, position, token, and context. And what we can now do is we can see what is it supposed to return. So then it's supposed to return a completion item, list of completion items. So let's actually first generate a list of auto completion items that we want to have at the end. So let's say let players equals, so we're gonna do Messi, Ronaldo, and Neymar. And then we're gonna generate the auto completion items from this list. So if we do, like, let's say players.for each, and this gets the item, and it can have a function which is where we will create the completion items. So we'll do c item equals new Vscode completion item, and this takes a label, which in our case would be the item, but we need to pass the item as well in the function argument, and the completion kind. So Vscode completion item kind, and completion item kind dot text. So now we're going to create, so we need to create a list first where we can populate these items. So let's create the list. So let completion item list equals new Vscode completion item. We need to define the type as well, just for brevity. So Vscode completion item, and then the list, and we need to just pass an empty list here, right? And then once we have created the item, we can just completion item list dot push and push the C item into it. And once we are out of the for loop, we can just return the completion item list. And the last argument to this provider is, I believe, the trigger character. So the trigger characters, in our case, let's do like colon. I think that's a valid trigger character. Yeah, I think we are almost ready. So the only change we have to do now in package.json, we need to specify, I think it's activation events, where we need to specify a specific activation event for which our extension is going to trigger. So if we just search activation events Vscode extension, and we get a list of activation events, and we are looking for a specific extension activation event. So I think which is this one, right? If you just pick that one, paste it across, and let's make this SQL. So format that. Yeah, I think we're ready for the first pass. So let's go to our next tab and make sure we're in the correct directory. Open Vscode here. Wrong directory, I think. Let me just check. cd complete and run F5 to start the debugger. And that's our SQL file. So if I do select everything from like a full table, and let's try colon, it doesn't seem to work. Let's see what the problem is. So we're returning the completion item list, and this completion item list has a bunch of players. It has the activation. Let's go to package.json. Workspace contains, we're missing the star here, I believe. So let's go back to VS Code and refresh the extension. And let's go here and do like select and then colon. Yeah, there you go. We have auto completion ready. Let's see how long that took for us to build. That's approximately 7 minutes 50 seconds. So now we're going to go through some bonus features for this extension, which is like, what if you want multiple characters in your auto completion, right? So if you go and check the register completion provider, and if you check the trigger characters, it actually accepts the list which you can spread out. So what it means is you can pass something like this, a list, and you can provide multiple trigger items. So if I do like, let's say $, right? And let's go back to VS Code now and restart the extension in debug mode. And let's go back and let me just do select everything from foo, where player in I think this is auto completion, and the other one was $. So $, also gives you auto completion. Oh yeah, the other one is coming from a different extension that I built, which has the same auto completion setup. So that's why we're getting more. But as you can see, you can set up multiple trigger items in your extension for trigger type. So what else? There's something else we can do as well. Like we can check only to trigger the auto completion based on what you have typed previously in the line. So how can you get the line in the document which you're typing? So you can get that by line. Let's create a variable called line prefix, and that would be document dot line at, and this I think gets a position argument from what I can remember, and you can get a text of the position, and you can do a substring and get every item from 0th position to the current character of that. So this gives you, like, for example, if you're typing select, so this is SE would be your line prefix here, and select. So you can do cool things like you can check if you don't have line prefix dot, let's say, contains, is that a thing? And what I'm looking for is includes, I think. Yeah, you can search for includes, and you can search for something like, let's say colon again, right? And then you say it doesn't include that line prefix, don't trigger the auto completion thing. So you can do like return undefined, right? And you can actually like console.log this and look that in the debugger how line prefix looks. So if we do line prefix and save this, go back to VS Code, and let's go back. Let's actually save this for ease of typing next time, and refresh this page. And so all our logs should come here. So what I'm expecting is if I type select everything from full where let's say $, so if I go back here, you see like all the line prefix items are being printed here. So that's what that does. You can like based on the line prefix, you can execute, like return something special or not return anything, which is what we have done here, right? So until you find this item, don't return anything. That's what it says. So finally, to add the emojis in the auto completion, I've added like copy pasted these emojis into the text, and I've also changed the condition for returning undefined. I said if you have quotes or a single quote or double quote, return. If you don't have either of those, return undefined. But the trigger characters by default are single quote and double quotes. So now if I go to VS Code and let's try to do double quotes, and let's try single quote, right? So it works for both, which is amazing. It shows the emojis as well, which is cool, I think.